simply IP. IP, good evening, and it's good to have you here.
Good evening, Mike, and good evening to the viewers watching the program. Today is Sunday, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, so I'm also joined by Ambassador Anthony Mukwita, who is also an analyst. Ambassador, good evening, it's good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Mike, for welcoming us this great Sunday evening, and good evening to our viewers within Zambia and those beyond.
And the last, analyst is actually my namesake, Mike Sichula. Mr. Sichula, it's good to have you here as well.
Thank you very much, my namesake, and it's good to be here. I'm happy that at least I've got a backup. Good evening to our dear viewers joining us from wherever you are watching us from, and we need to give praise to the Lord for this Sunday.
Indeed. Amen.
Lovely. Now, over the days, we had a Ghanaian president, John Mahama, who visited Zambia on a state visit. And as he was here, a lot of issues took place, starting from the Fugu, of which, it was, a lot of debates, consisting of Zambian youths together with, Ghanaians in regards to traditional attire, pride, heritage, and all of that. But what caught the attention of many is, when the Ghanaian president did mention to say there should be independence between the legislative bodies together with parliament. But before we even invite, our analysts to talk about that, here's a clip.
The era where we parceled out large-scale concessions to speculators who then turned around and flipped them for huge profits must end. We have the know-how, the technology and capital are available, and indigenous companies must be encouraged to participate in the extractive and mining sectors. We must support our indigenous private sector to capture the commanding heights of our economies. In Ghana, mining and the extractive sector play a significant role in our economy. And much like Zambia and other African countries, we are the source of critical minerals like gold, bauxite, and manganese. And yet very little value is added to these minerals locally. My country is changing that narrative. Ghana established the Gold Board in April last year to take control of and regulate our gold exports. The Gold Board was given sole authority to export gold out of Ghana. Since the establishment of the board, gold exports from the artisanal and small-scale mining sector have increased from 63 tons to 104 tons in 10 months. And the sweetest part of it is that this 104 tons have earned.
I'll start with IP, from the clip that you've just witnessed. What do you make over, Mahama calling upon the judiciary to be independent together with parliament?
Thank you so much, Mike, once again. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
As well as my colleague, comrade speech analyst. I know it's quite amazing, and the viewers may be wondering that IP is found on the other side.
Indeed.
Yeah.
As an analyst.
You can imagine.
And not the devil's advocate
not
tonight.
At all. Not at all. Otherwise, thank you so much. And of course, maybe these substitutions were important to match the names there.
Exactly.
Mike Mwindachawe. Yeah.
Interesting names, eh?
Quite interesting names.
Mike Sichula and Mike Mwindachawe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into it. I know that PK is not around, but we thought of course, proceeding with the program and the conversation. I know that PK would have loved to be here, but of course, being a CEO of the company, sometimes you are summoned for some meetings elsewhere.
Exactly.
And maybe I'll say this being month end.
It's important. It's very, very important.
So PK, thank you so much. I know that you are following the program from wherever you are. Let's get into what transpired during the course of the week, last week, in President John Mahama visiting Zambia for a 4 days working visit, and a lot of stories, of course, we are picked out from there. I'll begin from what you mentioned, Mike, about President Mahama, going to the National Assembly of Zambia and reminding our legislators, our parliamentarians, and the country in general, the executive, where the president, of course, belongs to, that look, if you want to have a democratic nation, a successful democratic country should endeavor, should ensure that the three arms of government operates independently, as it were. This is not new. You know, we've learned these things, you know, in our lifetime. If you ask a grade 5 child today who is learning social studies, they will tell you that the three arms of government are always independent. But also what we are lacking, I think, as a country has been the realistic aspect of it when it comes to implementing these laws we have in our statutes. So it is basically a reminder, which was coming from President Mahama, that look, in Africa and many countries in the world, we seem to have a tug of war between the executive and the legislature, perhaps even the executive sometimes.
Is that happening in Zambia?
Well, whether this is happening in Zambia or not is not me to judge, but suffice to mention that some stakeholders have actually expressed concerns that there seems, you know, seems to be some forms of interference or cohesion between the executive and sometimes the Parliament, National Assembly. Whether those issues are true or not, it's not me to judge. The viewers will be able to judge by themselves. Let me submit, Mike, to make mention that the President Hakainde Hichilema and his team, they should take that message very serious. The message from John Mahama, it was not a message which should be taken so lightly. It was basically a slap on the face of the President Hakainde Hichilema and his team. Madam Nelly Muti, you could be watching, or maybe your members, they could be watching. Let's pick something from there and move on as a country. John Mahama, by the way, Mike, and the Ambassador Mukita, you know about that. That Mahama is not a new president in Ghana. He's been there before. He lost to Nana Akufo-Addo. But of course, after Nana Akufo-Addo, of course, ruled for 2 terms.
Indeed.
John Mahama, he came back again to that position. So the man is speaking from an informed position.
We have to accommodate others as well.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Mr. Situla, others called it a lecture to Zambia. How will you call that message that was delivered in Parliament?
Well, I think the visiting president was on point, because one of the biggest challenges that most African countries have presently is the issue of having state institutions that do not have independence from central government. Why do state institutions don't have independence on their own? Because they draw their, for them to run effectively, they need a budget from the central government. And the people that are holding high position at these institutions, you talk about the judiciary, you talk about the parliament itself, you talk about quasi-government institutions, we find that the appointing authority is the head of state. So, in the absence of having independence of their own to raise money for them to run their activities, it becomes very difficult for such institutions to be independent. But one of the biggest problems that these institutions can never be independent is the aspect of lack of security of tenure. For instance, like Parliament, for instance, we all know to say after 5 years, there may be the election of the new member, the speaker, and so on and so forth. But when you move away from such institutions like Parliament, you go to institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission. You go to institutions like the Drug Enforcement Commission. The biggest bosses there, they do not have security of tenure. You can be appointed today. If you make any mistake that does not go well with the appointing authority, the moment you reach your home, you may be fired. So now tell me, someone who thinks his job does not know whether tomorrow they will have a job or the other day they will have a job, do you think such people can be responsible enough, can be courageous enough to undertake certain decisions that can be viewed contrary to the appointing authority? So when you take away, when you look at financial capacity of these institutions, as well as the security of tenure for the people that are holding position at these institutions, then that's when we can begin to talk about the judiciary should be independent, Parliament should be independent, and these other government, quasi-government institutions to be independent. In the absence of that, we are not going to have independence of these institutions. Why is it important for such institutions to have independence?
As you submit.
Yes, it is important for such institutions because they are not going to bow to political pressure. Political pressure to say, I'll give an example. Presently today, Mr. Robert Chavinga should not be sitting or in the position where he sits in parliament as leader of the opposition because the courts have said he should not be there. But why has it taken long for the government, or why has it taken long for the speaker to deliver that judgment to Mr. Chavinga? Because there's political interference somewhere. So those are some of the issues that we need to look at if we are going to make these institutions to be independent.
Ambassador, from the president's visit to Ghana, are there any lessons that could be picked from the Zambian lawmakers, if at all there are any? What are they?
Thank you very much, Mike Mwenda Chave. Allow me at this particular moment also to thank my IP, the host with the most, and our CEO, Kennedy Mambwe, to make sure that there is continuity. Now we are having fresher faces to make sure that the relay stick is passed on, and it's very refreshing to have younger guys like Mwenda Chave to come and beat us into shape. Having said that, the major lessons, I had an interview 2-3 days from several media outlets regarding the pending visits, given my background as a former ambassador, what this meant diplomatically. And I said it was a very great thing because Zambia and Ghana have a long history which dates back into the 1960s. Ghana was one of the first countries to gain independence in Africa. That time there was the Kwame Nkrumah. And then we also had the Kenneth Kaunda, and these guys are Pan-Africanists, like, to the core, as Brother IP, our host with the most, would normally say. So we have that shared background of Pan-Africanism and fighting for the greater independence of other countries in Africa. Secondly, the president of Ghana is seen as an economic revolutionarist. We recently had a fiasco, a fandango, in northwestern province, where we had some what they called illegal miners getting shot, some of them in cold blood, and actually died. Later on, we had that scandal of the army commander who threatened Zambians who had taken up hoes and pigs to self-employ themselves, to employ themselves, and he said he was going to fumigate them, he was going to exterminate them, he was going to eradicate them. So, but that raised a very huge nationwide furor and left a bitter taste in the mouths of many. When Ghana came in, one of the issues that President John Dramani Mahama raised was the fact that they had these people that we were once calling here illegal miners. What they did is they put them together. And they gave them artisanal mining licenses. They formalized them. They put them in a place where they had to follow laws. They legalized them. And as a result of putting them into shape and putting them into law, Ghana, 1 year alone last year, dug more than 1,000 ounces of gold and earned $10 billion US. So those are lessons we can get. $10 billion US from people whom in our country we once wanted to eradicate and fumigate and exterminate, like cockroaches. Thank God, everybody said you cannot eradicate and fumigate people. But for me, that was a major lesson we were getting from the visit of the Ghanaian president, and I hope our President Hakainde Hichilema and this top-level delegation did engage them and ask them, can we come to Ghana Gold so that Zambia Gold can come and learn on how we can legalize these people instead of
quickly coming to the independence of institutional bodies.
Indeed,
yes.
Independence of institutional bodies. I think I will take a rider from the speech analyst Yasi Chula here, Yamukom. As they call them, these Mbala mafias. That it is very hard to have independence of our institutions, which is what President Dramani was talking about, that for a democracy to thrive, it's very, very important that the institutions should be independent. But if there is no security of tenure, if a judge, for instance, is afraid that if he passes a judgment the IP can come up today with a piece of paper and take it over to the Judicial Review Commission, or whatever they call it,
Complaints
the JCC,
Commission.
Judicial Complaints Commission, and then State Counsel Vincent Blackskin Malambo will constitute his own court, and before you know it, unlike the past under Kaunda and other administrations, you won't be walking the streets. It's very, very important. It's very, very it's very difficult for a judge to be independent and to pass decisions that will hold radical decisions if their job has no security of tenure, Mike.
All right,
It is the same thing, I think, in state institutions such as the National Broadcaster, the Times of Zambia, and the Daily Mail. You have seen, we were discussing Offset this evening with Yasi Chura, that we have been seeing within a week director generals and managing directors of some of the best paying jobs are quitting.
But as you've submitted, because, you know, but I would love to give this topic a little bit of time, because I feel there is a lot to talk about.
Please.
But IP, I'd love to find out, are Zambia's constitutional safeguards strong enough to protect institutions from political interference, or its reform overdue?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. When you listen to Comrade Mike Sichula, you also listen to Ambassador Mkwita as well. But also, as I give my own submission,
in a minute, actually.
Yeah, I'll make mention that we have a lot of work where the constitution is concerned. I'll tell you one thing. I was thinking that when we are amending the constitution a few months ago over that debate, I think we should have looked into all these issues to ensure that the three arms of government truly begins to operate independently. But however, the independence of the three arms of government are basically on paper. And we've all gone to school. We've gotten distinctions around that. But when it comes to the realities on the ground, I'll tell you one thing. It's a sorry sight. These are things that we should have looked at and ensured that we give, for example, we detach the hand of the president, of the executive, from appointing, for example, the Speaker of National Assembly, or nominating people like Honorable Nelly Muti as Speaker of National Assembly, because the more you do that, you are creating a compromise in the legislature. Okay, so if we detach the hand of the president from appointing these individuals, you are going to create sanity, for example, in Parliament. You cannot have people like Honorable Moses Moyo being nominated by the ruling party. He will not operate freely or independently, as it were. I'm not saying that he's not operating independently. I'm just trying to throw these empty, pointers here and there. But if you ask me, I'll give you an honest analysis or point of view that we have got a lot of work. Otherwise, there are so many questions around. Comrade Mike gave you an example about Comrade Robert Chavinga, who is basically sitting in that parliament illegally so. Because
what Honorable Mtoto Kafuaya would say a crime scene. That's a crime scene.
You understand? Okay. So those are problems. So those are problems. You cannot have people like Robert Chavinga sitting in the National Assembly and is masquerading himself, disguising himself as the leader of the opposition. That's a circus. That's a confusion. It's a kindergarten, as it were.
All right. Ambassador, are Zambia's constitutional safeguards strong enough to protect institutions from political interference?
At the expense of sounding monotonous, no, I do not think so. And I agree in short with the 1 minute that you have given us that there is a need for major reforms. Thank God it's 6 months before elections. We are hoping to have a new government, a new administration, and whether this one is re-elected or not, it will present an opportunity for us to do a comprehensive reform of all the laws in order that we can ensure that the legislature is independent, we can ensure that the judiciary is independent, we can ensure that the executive arm of government does not interfere into these other institutions. So, in a minute, I think we should look at 6 months as a God-given gift for us to get into a new era and start all over again with reforming. Zambia is a great nation, but it's got a lot of weaknesses, especially when it comes to the question of the constitution that you have just raised, Mike.
Mr. Sichula, over the same question and I mean.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would talk about is the aspect of the much talked about Public Order Act. When you are in opposition, it is a very bad law. And you promise Zambians that when you give me a mandate of 5 years, the first thing that I'm going to do is to repeal this law. But when you get into office, Zambian people give you a mandate to be the president, you find that this same thing you are calling to be a bad law becomes a very good law and effective law that you are using it against your opposition. So these are some of the problems that you find that the constitution needs some refinement. But the problem is that politicians, when they get in, they begin to look at these problems of the constitution to be good because they are helping them to pull certain strings. Because for today, for instance, if you, like the question that you've pressed, today, for instance, if you go to Chawama today, you are, and many other constituencies, you are going to find looting UPND aspiring candidates, they are holding their campaigns. But on the flip side, opposition political parties are not allowed. Why is it so? The police will always be directed by the political arm to say, don't allow this person, but this one pay a blind eye like nothing is happening.
All right, thank you very much. But you're watching KPN TV, the finest television. And in moving on, the Electoral Commission of Zambia announced that they are on the move of creating 70 new constituencies, a move that has caught many citizens and political players by surprise. Questions are now being raised about the criteria used, public consultation, and other broader political implications of this decision. I'll start with you, Ambassador. What informed the creation of these 70 new constituencies, and why do they appear unfamiliar to the public despite being into the recent past Bill number 7? But they still appear to be unfamiliar with the public.
Mike, that's a very important question that you raise. I would like to answer it this way before I get to the tail end of what you've asked. What I would like to ask first is it necessary for Zambia in the current state of poverty to have an additional 70 seats to the more than 160 parliament, which already costs the government and taxpayers a lot of money? Is it necessary for a country that has a people that lives in abject poverty, 64% national levels? It's criminal at a country level that we are on people that live on less than $2 per day. Is it necessary that when there isn't enough teachers to have to go around schools so that we can decongest those free education classes where there is 200 pupils for one teacher, for you to increase 70 seats, which shall require 90,000 kwacha pay per month for one more parliamentarian, and a soft loan for another GX or VX or a Range Rover or a Mercedes-Benz like I like? Is it really necessary for us to do this when the farmers cannot get the 8 bags of fertilizer they needed because the government does not have money to increase the number of seats to 70? I think for me that is what must be the burning issue, whether we are putting the cart before the horse or the other way around. Shouldn't we first be paying the farmers for their produce and giving them agro inputs so that
So
they
in
can
short, you're
grow?
saying it's not necessary?
In short, I could be wrong. I'm just one person and I'm not as intelligent as those people that decided that we needed an extra 70 seats. I think it is premature. I think we should have probably taken care more of free education and farmers and poverty uplifting before we could increase the number of seats at an expensive, huge taxpayers' cost to 70. Anything else to me doesn't really wash.
Mr. Mike Sisula, 70 new, why does this seem very much unfamiliar to the public out there?
I think the problem which is here is that when Zambians were talking about the Bill 7 and also the delimitation report, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, including the government itself, they indicated that this report was not before them, and this report, they will just say, it's there, it's there. But the problem which is here is that there hasn't been transparency as to what the report that was done by the previous administration in terms of what should be delimited, which constituents should be delimited and which one should not, is what has caused this public outcry and public discontent with the current administration. Had the Electoral Commission of Zambia, including the current administration, made public this report, the delimitation report that was done by the previous administration, I don't think Zambians were going to have all these concerns that people are raising. And one of the biggest reasons Zambians are complaining is that this report seems to be a political tool by the current administration. They want to use it to their advantage in terms of which constituencies they feel should be delimited. However, regardless of which constituencies will be delimited, the number of voters will still remain the same. Zambia has got a population of should be 8.8 million voters. So those voters will remain the same regardless of which constituencies will be delimited and on whose stronghold these constituencies will be. What will remain, if it is for political reasons, what will remain is to how the political parties that want to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema will do to ensure that from the 8.8 million voters that Zambia has, how many votes are they going to get in their own strongholds and in strongholds where the UPND may not have an advantage. So these are some of the issues that I expect politicians to look at. And also to the Electoral Commission of Zambia.
As you submit.
I think one of the challenges the Electoral Commission of Zambia, they need to be transparent with this issue, because if they are not going to be transparent in terms of how they will receive these consultations which they will be undertaking, people are going to accuse the commission of rigging in favor of the governing party.
All right. IP, same question. Why does this move seem unfamiliar to the public?
Yeah, look, I'll take a different direction, because this is called the analysis.
Of course.
Okay. So we've got different or independent minds and views to these topics. That's why we talk about independence and the freedoms of government. Okay. But also, I should give much respect to Ambassador, because I think Ambassador, he was among the stakeholders who went to attend, that deliberation by the Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I was yearning actually to hear much more from Ambassador.
Indeed.
But nevertheless, I know you also is bound by the time. I will begin by saying, first of all, delimitation to any country is always imperative. Delimitation, remember that we are bound by the Constitution to ensure that after every 10 years, we must be able to undertake a delimitation exercise. And therefore, if you go by the Constitution, we are obliged to ensure that we carry out a delimitation exercise. And that's where we are. But beyond that also, we should also understand that, in my view, Zambia's population keeps on increasing or growing, as it were. If you ask my colleagues here, they will tell you that, and the viewers out there, they are fully aware that if you go to other countries like, I think Uganda, I followed the elections in Uganda and the population of Uganda and the number of seats they have at parliamentary level.
Yeah.
They are quite huge. Exactly.
It's more than the population of Zambia.
Yeah. Okay. So, however, we need to be moving according to, the dynamics of the country. If the population is increasing or growing, you must be able to increase in terms of the number of seats or representation at that level. So if you ask me, I would say delimitation is always important, and I would need that. Where I've had concerns about this delimitation exercise has been the lack of transparency in which constituencies, which districts are going to be delimited. That has been the catch. And believe me, Mike, and the viewers out there, sooner or later, I'm not trying to act like a prophet, but I can only predict that there will be a lot of confusion around that. Because, Mike, there's no way that we are talking about 3 months or 5 months before the general election. We are not aware which constituencies are going to be divided. How will you enable me, who is aspiring maybe for to stand maybe in Anthony Mukwita,
constituency, yeah.
When do I
think we should have one like that one.
I think we should. You understand? So that becomes a problem. When we've got a government which is not transparency, which wants to be hiding each and every detail, it creates even rumors and suspicions in the minds of the Zambian people. And the UPN government, oh my goodness, it's been dismal when it comes to lack of transparency.
Now, as we watch this clip from the ECZ, I have a follow-up question to the panelists. Right?
The Electoral Commission of Zambia has launched the 2026 delimitation exercise, a crucial process aimed at creating 70 additional constituencies across the country. The exercise is part of the broader electoral reform introduced by the Constitution of Zambia Act No. 13 of 2025, which also includes the implementation of the mixed member proportional representation electoral system. The process will involve stakeholder consultation in each of the 116 districts, followed by provincial meetings to receive submissions. Speaking during the launch, ECZ chairperson Mangala Zalome stated that the Commission is in the process of amending the Electoral Process Act No. 35 of 2016 to give effect to the implementation of the mixed member proportional representation electoral system provided under Article 47 of the Constitution of Zambia Act No. 13 of 2025.
In this regard, the Commission is in the process of amending the Electoral Process Act No. 35 of 2016 to give effect to the implementation of the mixed member proportional representation electoral system provided under Article 47 of the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act No. 13 of 2025.
Speaking at the same event, ECZ Chief Electoral Officer Brown Kasario has emphasized that not all the 116 districts will be allocated an additional constituency, saying that the Commission will issue a notice in the Gazette indicating the names and details of the boundaries, which will come into effect on the next dissolution of Parliament.
Notwithstanding the needs on the ground, the 2026 delimitation exercise is strictly for constituencies. The Commission will not be creating any new wards or indeed calling districts or stations, as it were.
Meanwhile, Operation Young Vote Executive Director Gesi Nyirenda has called on the Commission to be as transparent as possible in conducting the delimitation exercise, saying that they risk losing the confidence of the people if they pledge to the will of any political party.
It have been not a strategy that people are using to play underhand methods, because then I think remember that we are talking of the integrity and the credibility of the electoral process, and this can only be achieved when people have the trust of the processes and the system, when people have the confidence in the Commission. So the Commission risks losing confidence, the confidence of the people, if they pledge to the whims of any political party, whether it's the ruling party or the opposition.
The Commission is inviting stakeholders to participate in the process, submit proposals, and provide feedback on the Draft Electoral Process Act Amendment Bill. Elizabeth Kayombo, KBN TV News, Lusaka.
All right, I'll start with you, Sisula. Do you think maybe the timing of this move is being, it has political engineering in it?
Well, it's tricky to ascertain whether it has or not, but everything that the government in power does in terms of politics, they'll always use it to their advantage. And for me, today, the Electoral Commission of Zambia can say we are going to do consultations with the general public, but I don't think the executive has not seen the delimitation report, and they probably know which constituencies they want to be delimitated. Because one of the requirements or the need for a constituency to be delimitated is to how big the constituency is in terms of population. We already know to say, for instance, Kanyama constituency, for instance, is one of the biggest constituencies in Lusaka in terms of population of the number of voters. So that will Kanyama be one of those constituencies that will be delimited? So, to me, to answer your question,
or maybe we'll go to Lusaka Central.
maybe we'll go to Lusaka Central and so on and so forth. But to me, to answer your question, my namesake, the government will always have an advantage over whatever policy they want to engineer.
All right.
Today, for instance, we have seen the government, as President Hakainde Hichilema has said, the CCTV bill should go back, right? But there were other bills that Zambians said, we do not want this bill, but because there were political advantages to the governing party, those bills went through.
IP, are there any suspicions of political engineering to the timing of this month?
No. Look, we always suspect, like I mentioned, that when you begin to hide, information from from members of the public, even when or where people do not require to suspect you, they'll begin to suspect you. I think I followed Madam Mwangala Zalomes, the chairperson of ECZ, telling members of the public that we are receiving a lot of pressure coming from even sitting members of parliament. They want to know which constituencies are going to be delimited or divided.
Indeed, I was there.
But we can't disclose that. Already that is a problem, because Jack Mwimbu or Mwetwa, those veterans who have stayed long in their areas, they are not sure whether their areas are going to be divided or not. They are not sure, so you leave them in a dark. So I'll tell you one thing, that a problem is there, and the UPND, they can do better. Comrade Mike Sichula brought out a very fundamental point when he did mention to the issue of transparency. That's the hallmark of a democracy, or every democratic nation in a good governance. But the moment if you want to be doing things on your own at ECZ, because you are Mwangala Zalomes, and you feel that you are too powerful than everybody else, that breeds confusion. If you are going to sit, for example, at KBN TV, and you feel that you are more powerful than the ambassador, than Comrade Mike Sichula, that will always be a problem. Leaders must be consultative. Leaders must be engaging. And this is the cancer which the UPND is suffering from. Lack of consultations and engagement. If you look at the UPND manifesto, which I consume every day, it's part of my food.
I've noticed that.
You have noticed, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You've actually been gaining weight.
Oh, because of that. Mike, you'll be shocked to hear that the UPND in their manifesto, they were deliberate. Pledging that once in power, we are going to make sure that we will be consulting members of the public and holding meetings with the members of the opposition political parties to consult on governance issues. Can you tell me, from the time they have been in the office, this is the 5th year, if there was a time when you saw them having a discussion with members of the opposition?
All right, so you
that's
have
a cancer
to
which
hold
we have
your
at
thoughts.
hand.
Hold your thoughts. Ambassador, over the same question, any suspicions of political engineering in this one?
I think the two gentlemen have really elucidated that the expense again of sounding monotonous. I will arrest my case there.
But maybe if I could add on, since Ambassador,
30 seconds, since Ambassador.
this is where now this is where the political engineering is going to happen, where the UPND do not want to forgo some of their big wigs, like the Jack Mwimbus, Mwetwa, and others. The UPND may opt to divide those constituencies so that Jack Mwimbu can stand and the popular aspiring candidate can stand. That I can prophesy.
That appears as if all animals are equal, but others are more equal than the others. So you have to cut this cake in two to ensure that the other bigger animals can have a
because
stake.
do you know,
Makes sense, right?
Do you know why they would do this?
All
right, thank you.
All right, now moving on, internal dynamics.
You know, once you give the microphone to the Mbala Markets. Sorry, Mike.
Takes forever. The internal dynamics of the Tonsi Alliance have intensified following Tasila Lungu's appointment by acting party by the alliance's leadership, Brian Mundubire. This development has reopened debates around the alliance's authority, succession, and political legacy of the late President Edgar Tagalongo. But before they come in, here's a clip.
Number 6 is the National Youth Chairperson, National Youth Chairperson for Tonse Alliance, and this is Honorable Tasila. The National Youth Chairperson for Tonse Alliance is Honorable Tasila Lungu Mansa.
Izula Watamba.
Number 7.
All right, IP, we'll start with you on this one. According to the clip that we've just watched there, a number of issues. Others are saying, you know, Tasila Lungu accepted the appointment. Others are saying she's yet to accept the appointment. Others are even saying she declined the appointment. What do you make of this?
Quite dramatic indeed. You know, Zambia is not short of a drama. But the party front itself, I think we've had the PF in our analysis every Sunday. They keep on giving us different angles and different dimension to the story. So many names were announced to the Tonse Alliance leadership as of Saturday last week. I saw, I think, Dr. Lubilo from Eastern Province, who is the Umozi Kumawa chairperson. He was also unveiled in that Tonse Alliance leadership. We also did see people like Madam Tasila Lungu being appointed, Tasila Lungu Mwanza, being given that position as a chairperson, youth chairperson, national youth chairperson. Now, why Tasila Lungu in this regards? The viewers may wonder. It's because you need to understand that in journalism or in the newsroom, we look at the prominence. You know, what makes news is not anything that you find on the street, but it's about prominence. If ambassador, for example, is going to do anything silly, he'll make news because he was the title of him being a media guru. He also holds the title of being an international relations expert. So you make more news than IP myself. So Tasila Lungu, she's picked out, or she comes out so prominently because she is a person who is the daughter to the former head of state in ECL. But also Tasila Lungu, she's right now domiciled in South Africa, where she's mourning the demise of her late father in that regards. But also, she's a former member of parliament for Chawama constituency. So Tasila Lungu, I think, she comes out so prominently. Now, why is this drama happening? She's appointed as a national youth chairperson. And everybody's like shocked. What's going on here? Because Tasila Lungu and the Lungu family, they are being represented, for example, by Makebi Zulu, as a spokesperson to the funeral procession. You understand? And then everybody was like, or maybe thinking that maybe in all earnest, Tasila Lungu should have been more loyal or allegiant or pay allegiance to Makebi Zulu, who is one of the aspiring candidates. But look, we live in a democratic country. Despite all that, Tasila has got her own democratic right. She can choose where to go. You understand? So everybody now is shocked. Say, but Munduwile and the Tonse Alliance, they are not in good books. Thank you, Mike. They seem not to be in good books with the Given Luwinda team, which is also claiming to be a Tonse grouping. But Tasila Lungu goes on the opposite side. Hence, she makes news. We'll see what will happen there. But the question, to answer your question, whether she has accepted or not, these are the, I mean, you know, news items, sometimes they can, you know, I've got different dynamics. Indeed. But from where I stand, and from what so far I have gathered, I'm not saying that that's the final position you should hold even tomorrow. You know, these are sources, huh? Right, they can flip at any time. Exactly. But politics. But from this minute, I can confirm that Tasila Lungu still stands to the position of the Tonse Alliance National Youth Chairperson. I've never seen a verified story or statement of coming from Tasila Lungu denying that position. The information I have so far, and this is a position of KBN TV, because we are an investigative team. Indeed. We have got information that Tasila Lungu, she is the youth
in
national
short,
chairperson for
in short,
Tonse.
she accepted their point.
In short, she accepted the position, but if anything changes, that will be a different dimension altogether. But
all right.
I know people don't want to hear this, huh?
Yeah.
I mentioned this again, Mike.
You can't please them all.
You know, for those who are doubting, Tasila Lungu stands to that position of Tonse National Youth Chairperson. But look, Mike, before I submit, let me just...
But IP will give you more time, actually. Others have to come in as well.
Okay, just one point I need to stretch, but it's fine. It's fine, don't worry.
All right, Ambassador, speculations of Tasila Lungu accepting, as well, all the same time as well, speculations of her declining the position which she was appointed just this recent Saturday.
To a very large extent, our host with the most, I think I'm beginning to like him more on this side, since you're already comfortable on the other side. I tend, given the amount of investigative work you do at this station, IP, Kennedy Mambwe, that Honorable Tasila Lungu has not repudiated the statement to the effect that she has not accepted this position.
No,
in fact, even in the newspaper, such as the Daily Nation, where she has been widely quoted as having rejected the position, there is no direct quote that says, I have rejected this position.
Correct.
It is coming like from a third party. Having put that on the side and having already looked at the prominence aspect that IP has mentioned, you have to remember that Honorable Tasila Lungu Mwansa is political royalty. Ms. Tasila Lungu Mwansa is one of the daughters, or rather the only daughter of the president that took a political path of her father's, the 7th president of Zambia. So that makes her a juggernaut and a heavy hitter in the political spectrum that we have, especially 6 months before the elections, because whichever position she decides to take crosses, or rather draws a line in the sand on where the spirit of Edgar Lungu has decided to stand in this deeply divided and fractious Tonse Alliance and Patriotic Front politics. So, for instance, if she has been appointed by Honorable Brian Mundowile, the newly minted president of Tonse Alliance and, you know, the forthcoming opposition, it means this has brought to an end that discussion on whom President Edgar Lungu said he had anointed. Just by virtue of her accepting to be with Honorable Brian Mondovile's. Wow. Those are the bigger dynamics. If on the other hand, she chooses to be with the Patriotic Front or the other Tonse Alliance of Honorable Given Lubinda, then again, Mike, it shows that this is where the tide has gone. So this is where the dilemma lies in.
It's a deciding factor.
And with 6 months before the elections, Tasila Lungu is the most coveted bride in this political marriage of how there will be an outcome of who will run. Believe as I submit that she has just been appointed as chairperson. If you remember the last time the interview I think I saw with IP and the Honorable Brian Mundowile, they said that a council of elders in Tonse Alliance shall receive names from all these people that have been appointed to be selected as the running mate or the vice president. So even when you see some people say, what? Such a crucial cog in the political wheel, in the political royalty, in the political majesty, such as Tasila Lungu, has been appointed just as a national youth chairperson. No, everybody else has just been appointed as a youth person. It is only going to come, as I steal the 30 seconds that Yasishua stole from me, that this is going to be very interesting.
That's a good one.
I will end there so that we don't continue being thieves.
You took note of those seconds, huh? You took note of those seconds.
I took note. I yield my time.
All right. Now, Ivy is actually saying, using the investigative skills, it is alleged that Tasila Lungu, has accepted that appointment as youth chairperson. And Ambassador, on the other hand, is saying wherever she will go, it will actually mean, you know, that's actually the person that the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu appointed to take the throne. Now, coming to my namesake, what do you make actually of this recent development?
Wow, you know, if you are appointed, you can be appointed without being approached, and it's up to you to accept or reject the appointment. Number two, is Tasira Lungu, has she resigned from active politics? As far as I'm concerned, I have not heard that she has resigned from active politics. She was only stripped of her seat because of unjustness that was exhibited by the Speaker of the National Assembly. And when you look at Tasira Lungu, she's the daughter of the former president of Zambia, Mr. Edgar Lungu. And Tasira Lungu is one of the politically active children of Mr. Lungu. I do not know of anyone else apart from her. So, if Mr. Mundubile, as the chairperson of the Tonse Alliance, has taken an initiative to appoint her, it is within their right. Tasira Lungu cannot, Makebi Zulu, for instance, cannot appoint Tasira Lungu because Mr. Makebi Zulu has not gotten any endorsement to say he's the president of this faction, then he can begin to appoint people of his choice. He hasn't done so. What is happening now is that there's a struggle for PF structures, and this struggle has now extended to PF influential persons.
Exactly.
And Mr. Mundubile, who has gotten the endorsements already of the Tonse, he has got that right now to begin to appoint people because he's been given that endorsement. So for me, making that appointment of Tasira Lungu is a political strategy, and that's why you have seen the backlash to say, why is Tasira Lungu coming back into politics? They have not buried their father. Tasira Lungu did not resign from politics. So she's politically active.
As you submit.
She's politically active, and she wants to save this country in another platform where she has been accepted. And if the Tonse feel she can serve in that position, it is up to her to accept or reject the offer.
Now, I would love to move away from this topic, but you know there is a lot to talk about. And I'll give 30 seconds to it in regards to this question. You know, in regards to the appointment of Tasira Lungu, is it because the Tonse are actually planning on long-term political position? I'll start with you, Mr. Mike Sicho.
Yes, if you look at Tasira Lungu, she's politically young, and she has also served as a member of. She has served from councillor and a member of parliament. And if we compare to other politicians, they have not had the privilege of being a councillor and also being elected as a member of parliament. So in terms of experience...
in terms of the Tonse Alliance, is it about long-term political positioning?
Yes, it could be a strategy to have someone who is young and be able to take over from others who are older than her when the time comes.
All right. Ambassador?
I totally agree. Ms. Tasira Lungu Mwansa, at only 42 years old, has experienced what many politicians in their late time have not, you know, starting as a ward councillor, getting a hands dirty into the wards, and getting into the seat as member of parliament, shaking some hands and, doing all sorts of philanthropy work. I think what the Brian Mundubile team is doing is grooming people who are young for long-term, to use your terminology, long-term grooming leadership. You know, like the way, again, I hope I don't embarrass you, the way the IP and Kennedy Mamwe are saying, we're tired of these old bald-headed faces of Anthony Mukwita, and let's bring in a fresh face. Let's bring in Mike Mwenda Chave. That's what I mean. But it works out better. So I think there is a long-term plan to this, and the Mundubile team must be commended for getting this catch. Like I said, this is the most converted and the most beautiful political bride to get right now. Whoever gets her really gets a chance to get that constituency that the late president, who remains unburied, still carries. By the way, it's a very huge one. I know you said I submit in 1 minute, but 8 months, 8 months after his death and not being buried. I did an article on my page, Anthony Mukwita.
I read that.
In one day, it had 190,000 readers.
Wow.
190,000 readers. More than 500 views.
All right.
Today,
All
I
right,
was looking at
Ambassador,
it, it's at more than 260,000 readers. Now, that's a science.
All right. We'll see if my director
There you go.
will actually allow me at the end, because that's another topic on its own. But we
No
we still
worries.
have time at the end. We'll actually, take a look at its IP in regards to the submission.
Yeah, if you ask me, it's a very good decision which the Tonse Alliance via Honorable Brian Munduwile they have made, because look, the PF, they have been talking about the rebranding. Okay, Zambians have been saying, they have said that if the PF wants to come back, they have to rebrand. So how would you rebrand? You need to, uproot certain faces, certain names, pack them, and bring in new faces. So picking on Tarsila Lungu strategically and politically is a good move, because remember, Tarsila Lungu, she started as a ward councillor. I used to cover Tarsila Lungu when she was basically in the NGO sector. She was doing some charity works and stuff like that. Later on, she aspired from Koloma ward in the Chawama constituency before she took over from the father. That's something you need to pick from there. And also, Tarsila Lungu and the Honorable Brian Munduwile, you need to understand this, that for her to work with the Tonse Alliance with the Honorable Brian Munduwile, not only Tarsila but other members of parliament, it is something that, of course, you cannot get shocked with. Like some of us who have been in the feud, in the media, will tell you that Honorable Brian Munduwile has been very close. He's been working hand in hand with these members of parliament. And Tarsila Lungu is one of the young parliamentarians who are being mentored and guided by Honorable Brian Munduwile. So I was not shocked to see that kind of an appointment being given to her and stuff like that. And let's draw a distinction here. When you look at the Tonse, when you look at the Tonse grouping being led by Honorable Brian Munduwile, and also let's look at the Given Luinda team that side, or maybe you want to look at the Makebi team on the other hand as well. Look at the faces, for example, who are with, for example, my brother comrade Makebi Zulu. I call them senior citizens. These are grandfathers, grandmothers, okay, who were there politically. Today, if you talk about value, it's neither here nor there. It's all about just the presence. No, it's me as IP. I was a minister of so and so some years back. You know me.
All right, IP.
Okay.
We
and
have
also
to
look at the
progress.
Given Luinda team there again. Those are people that were there yesterday. Today, politically, they may not add value beyond the brands they have. But the Munduwile team, they seem to be rebranding those lines.
Obviously, thank you very much. Now, as we move on, the acquittal of the Livingston mayor, Constance Nalishebo Mulewai, in a bribery case has triggered strong public reactions, with many citizens questioning the credibility of the judicial process and the effectiveness of the anti-corruption efforts in Zambia. All right, now, IP, I'll start with you this time around. The acquittal of Constance Nalishebo Mulewai. Does, this case point to weaknesses in prosecution or judicial interpretation of corruption laws in Zambia?
Yeah, is it Constance Mukelevai?
Mulelevai. There is Mukelevai and then there is Mulelevai.
Yeah, I wanted us to...
Mulelevai.
Fantastic. I wanted us to get the correct name.
Mulelevai.
Lousy names.
They are
traditional names. Sometimes we fail to pronounce them.
And with the losses, sometimes you're short of names, so you keep giving the same name to the same person. Luvinda, Nawa.
Yeah, I mean, she's been acquitted. Look, she was accused. She appeared before the courts of law, and the courts did adjudicate on that upon that matter. Last week, on Thursday, thereabout, I think she came out so victorious, dancing. I saw her speaking, or standing alongside or besides her brother. That's the Sesheke Member of Parliament, Romeo Kangombe. And according to Romeo Kangombe, he said that was basically a witch hunt. Okay? But whether that is true or not, I'm not here to judge. But what I'll pick from there, that the Livingstone mayor was acquitted in all the accounts, meaning that she is a free molecule as we speak today. But however, suffice to mention that always stakeholders who are critical, you know, who are always intelligent, they will find something to pinpoint. They will tell you that yes, and as much as this lady or this mother, this woman or this politician has been acquitted, but I think seemingly there's some foul play in the manner this judgment has been executed in Livingstone. Others will tell you that when you read through the judgment, they are pointing to the issues or concerns that there is clear evidence that she did receive the money, dubiously so, as it is alleged. But however, there were basically some technicalities. You know, there was no proper trace leading to where the money, leading to her conviction, which could have led to her conviction. So based on the technicalities, she's been acquitted. But on the other hand, others are saying,
as you submit,
receiving the money dubiously, she received that. And that's why the people now are saying, we can do better. It goes back to what the President Mahama talked about, allow the judiciary to operate independently.
All right.
Allow also the executive to work on its own, and the President Hakainde Hichilema and the Musamba.
Right.
But also allow Nelly Muti to operate independently. Further to which, there will be all those speculations.
Mike Sishoda.
Wow, I hope we had more time on this, because I had prepared something that our viewers may need to know.
Right.
Now, look, I'll try as much to be as brief as possible.
Please.
The fight against corruption does not require the current systems that we have. It requires a different system which was used before by a former president of Zambia, late Dr. Levi Mwanawasa. Instead of using the current system of SCC, DEC, what late President Mwanawasa did was he formulated what he called the tax force. I'm sure we remember that.
Yes.
Because he knew to say, if I use the SCC, the DC, and so on and so forth, we are not going to yield the desired results that Mwanawasa wanted at that particular time. Why am I saying so? I'm saying so because if you go to the SCC and DEC, the budgetary allocation that they get from the Minister of Finance is not enough for them to dig deep into the corruption that is happening in this country. So some of the SCC, DEC officials, they are working, and they are working with demotivation. They are not motivated at all. Imagine you are following up a case of someone who dubiously got money, blah, blah, blah. Then you, when you are leaving home, your wife was just telling you to say, Lamdara, when you're coming back, we don't have cooking oil, we don't have A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. And the person that you are going to prosecute or to investigate offers you money that can sort the problems at your home.
The cooking oil.
The cooking oil. So this demotivation.
And the Gomorrah.
Yes, so this demotivation is what made Mwanawasa not to use the current system to fight corruption. He created a separate system. Another issue, again, what we spoke about earlier on to say, but DC, this one, what's his name? Okay, most of the director generals of these institutions, they don't have the security of tenure. So if they know that they are going to prosecute someone who has got a blessing of the higher officers, they will certainly not do it. Now, coming back to the issue of this mayor, the law established the law established that she solicited. Now, can you imagine the technicality IP is talking about? Someone said, I solicited the money from Mike, right? As you as an investigator. Now,
according to court procedure.
According to court procedure. Now, when taking the papers to the judge, you will input the name of Mr. Anthony and Ambassador Mokwe.
Exactly.
That is the technicality, and you can clearly see that it was deliberate to change the names. So how did people manage to change the name? There must be someone who was demotivated following up this case. He didn't have sugar at home.
As you suppose.
He didn't have sugar at home.
Must eat.
Then judges must eat.
So, which only happens in South Africa, by the way.
Yeah. So, no. But to be honest, the people who took this matter to court needed to be followed up. Because there's no way you say the mayor solicited for money from Mike, then in the judge sheet or in the prosecution sheet, you change it, you put Ambassador Mokweto and present it to the judge.
Yep. Wow.
Ambassador.
In my view, this is the case of Her Worship, the mayor of the Municipal Council of Livingstone, Miss Constance Moleleva, is a political tsunami waiting to happen 6 months before elections.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that separates good politics and bad political judgment.
Yeah.
Because at a time like this, every judgment that you make, whether it's in Parliament, as IP was saying, and whether it's in the judiciary, it gets a little bit more scrutiny than any other time. So I will give you a historical example, two maybe. One, there is a brother called Macpherson Chanda. Very good brother.
Yeah.
He used to be very bright, university student leader. He became the Postmaster General. I recall very well when I was MD at the Zambia Daily Mail, was Postmaster General. And there used to be social cash transfer funds.
Yeah.
There were allegations that he could have misappropriated those
Correct.
funds. And when the matter went to court, yes, misappropriated, which is almost equivalent to stealing, because you could have used the money for not the intended purpose. But when the matter, the point I'm making is when the matter went to court, they established that he did not misappropriate this money. Correct. Okay? But eventually he did go to jail and serve a full sentence, I think of more than 2 years.
Yeah,
I think the brother lost his job, his education, his reputation, over money that he did not misappropriate. There is another case of a gentleman in history, I think in the early 2000s, he was a client of senior counsel, the smooth-talking KBF, a man called Mr. Sidney Chileshe. He used to be, I think, chief executive of the Zambia Export Growers Association, ZEGA, which was involved in exporting flowers to Europe and all. It turns out Mr. Chileshe wasn't exporting flowers, he was exporting grass. And that's drugs. And he went to court, he was found guilty, but you know, Dr. KBF is a very good lawyer. He managed to get him off, I think, on a technicality, and he was probably just given a slap on the finger of about a year or 6 months sentence. There was a public outrage. The judgment was questioned, and the government appealed, and Mr. Chileshe had to be given a harsher sentence. Fast forward the 2026 February, we have a young lady, Her Worship, the boss, as I submit, where it has been established that she solicited and got 180,000 kwacha in one part and about 120,000 kwacha on another part to ensure that land rates for a certain company disappeared. But she's got such great lawyers, and I don't know what she eats, but I want to eat the stuff that she eats because it's full of good luck. Somehow they could not find, they could not establish a case against her as they established a case against Macpherson Chanda, as they established a case against Mr. Sidney Chileshe. Now, you said 1 minute. All I am saying is, at a political time like now, people go beyond the interpretation of the court. They start looking at issues in a political lens, and then they start saying, what about Nicholas Chilango? Is it Nixon Chilango?
Nixon Chilango.
He was not on the scene, but he went to jail. What about Chitotea? He was not on the scene, but he went to jail. But what about this woman? She received the money, but she did not receive the money. So people start making judgments when they go to the ballot, using what is called some animals, all animals are equal, but
others
are more equal than others. And that can be bad, as I sum up, at a time of election. So for me, this is a bigger political tsunami story than it is even a judiciary story.
All right, thank you.
But Mike, before, let me just plead for your...
You can get my 30 minutes.
Your 30 minutes.
Seconds.
3 hours, Mike.
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you so much. I wanted just to amplify what my comrade Sichula mentioned. There's one belief, a very strong belief I have, by the way, when it comes to the fight against corruption. Any leader who is going to come out and begin to flex his muscles. That here I am, I'm going to fight corruption tooth and nail. Just know that that leader is a failure.
How so?
How so? Because the fight against corruption, Ambassador, should not be fought by powerful men.
No.
The fight against corruption should be fought by powerful systems.
Institutions.
I see what you mean.
You understand?
Yeah.
Systems of institution of governance should be the ones fighting the corruption, and not people, no matter how powerful they can be, flexing their muscles. No, we shall check in their coffers, we shall follow them here and there. Just know, relax, Mike, and tell yourself that this leader already is a failure. If you have not established stronger institutions of governance to bite the corrupt, but you want to be the one fighting corruption, if, for example, the way you look at Ambassador, no, I think he committed a crime. Can you follow Ambassador?
Indeed.
Today you wake up in a different mood again and say, look at IP, I think, and how ugly he looks.
Yeah.
That's a crime. Just know that that leader is a
IP,
failure.
your
Institutions of governance should be the ones fighting corruption.
Is actually up. Thank you for that submission. Now, reports suggest that several PF and independent members of parliament are seeking adoption by the ruling UPND ahead of future elections. This trend has reignited debates around political loyalty, opportunism, and the health of Zambia's multi-party democracy. I'll start with Ambassador on this one. Ambassador, are these MPs motivated by ideology, political survival, or constituency development? Which one is motivating these MPs that are on the verge of, joining the UPND government?
I think these politicians are a shame, a low-down, dirty shame. They do not deserve to be anywhere near the highest lawmaking body in the country, called the National Assembly, as they clearly showed recently during the debates of Bill 7, when they decided, as we heard, and none of them have rejected the assertion that they were paid more than $150,000.
Gone mute.
I am looking into the camera and say we have very astute interviewers here in the name of yourselves, Mwenda Chave, and my main man, the Pan-Africanist IP, including the speech analyst, to say you guys, the more than 13 that contributed to Bill 7 to become into law, from what we understand is you are sellouts. We understand you were put on a plane, you got $150,000 each, you sold your souls, you're going to buy a couple of stuff for your children, and you want to come and sell out some more. I think people should reject these rejects and see them for what they are.
Correct.
And I think this is a time that we should return to a time of having men of integrity, such as the Brian Munduwiles, the Stephen Kampiongos, and the others, Miles Sampa, and others that refused to sell out.
Correct.
And I'm looking into the camera saying 6 months from now, dear Zambians, don't give these charlatans
vote them out
a chance
Mike,
to ride on your back and get another $150,000. Reject them with the contempt that they deserve, because they belong to the cesspool.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike Sichula, are these MPs motivated by ideology, political survival, or they actually, care for their constituencies?
That question can be answered in threefold. One, I'll begin with what late veteran politician Daniel Munkombwe said. People should not lie that they are getting to politics in order to serve. People are getting to politics for their only personal benefits.
And when he said people, he meant himself.
He meant himself. So
people.
What he said even today applies. Today we have seen PF members of parliament campaigning on the UPND platform, forgetting the people that voted for them were PF people. PF people were given you a job to serve us in parliament. But when they go to parliament, they started serving themselves, and they also started serving the UPND administration. So it is not absolutely correct or 100% to say people who get into politics are getting to politics to serve. They are getting to politics for various reasons.
Well, not all of them.
Not all of them. They want to have their children to be taken care of. They want to have big farms, big companies, big cars, and so on and so forth. So they don't get into politics to save entirely. Then lastly, maybe...
Are they motivated by the ideology of the UPND?
No,
Do they even know how to spell ideology?
They are not motivated by the ideology. People are lying. These PF MPs who are saying we want to vote for the UPND because the UPND has done ABC, they are just liars. Because why I'm saying they are liars? If tomorrow the UPND lost, the same people begin to say we are going to back Mr. Munduwire if Mr. Munduwire won the election because Mr. Munduwire has brought ABCD. They are just liars. They are not based on ideology. It's lying, and they want to feed their families.
All right, thank
but
you.
But there's one important thing. There's one important thing that I wanted to highlight because I said three-fourths. The UPND MPs. These MPs, to me, as far as I've seen, they support the UPND by ideology and loyalty. They are different from majority PF MPs, especially from the northern. It's a very sad state of affairs.
I guess that sounds it.
What the conclusion?
No, I'll conclude that.
I mean, is it because of ideology, or it's because of political survival, or maybe they care for their constituencies?
Not at all. I did watch, I think, that video of a group led by Honorable Mungandu. We did see Honorable Mungandu, of course, Petauke, Member of Parliament, quite young, quite new, Banda, but he seemed to be on the side of the sellouts. Yeah, but when you talk about loyalty or maybe a passion for the people in their constituencies, Mike, I will not agree with you. Mike and the viewers out there, we need to accept, all of us, that we are all hungry. The economy is biting not only one person, but all of us in the country.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, that should not be a passport for elderly men and women to become political prostitutes. It's unfair.
That's a Pan-African speaking.
At the level of parliamentarians,
Yeah.
what morals are you inculcating in people like us who have never been members of parliament? What kind of honor are you, embodying in ourselves and the people out there? If you, as a member of parliament, you can be a sellout, as Ambassador Quit has mentioned. You can be a political prostitute, as I've mentioned. You can be nomadic, from moving from one place to the other. I think it's quite unfair. And those MPs who are, hunting, or rather dating to stand on the UPND ticket or join the UPND political party, those people, believe me, Mike, they don't mean well. I want to ride on the words which Comrade, the speech analyst, has mentioned, that should the UPND, peradventure, if the UPND was to lose power come August, those men and women, the Swongile Mwamba, those, that Chitenge material, they will not wear those regalia for the UPND.
No.
So, in short, my prayer and hope is that in the next generation, especially with the fathers, I've been praying to God that we should begin to father children who are going to be, to introduce hygiene in our governance system in Zambia and in Africa. But otherwise, if you talk about those MPs who have told the UPND that we are more than available to stand or join the UPND, yes, they have their democratic right. But however, what is taking a center stage is the betrayal and the political prostitution.
All right. Well, we have to make progress, but even as, we are out of time, I would love to fuse in one interesting topic. The controversial depiction linked to U.S. President Donald Trump has sparked global outrage, with critics accusing it of racial insensitivity and defenders framing it as political satire or free expression. The incident has renewed debate on leadership responsibility in global discourse. Now, under a minute to each one of you, I'll start with Ambassador, yet again, what message does this send to Africa and the wider international community?
Let me just first look at the history of President Donald Trump, POTUS, DJT. He's always been known to be a racial man, a highly racist white man, whose parents came in, his father came in from Germany, his mother came in as an immigrant from Scotland. He first entered the political fray, actually, as a racist. He was one of the biggest real estate guys in New York, Manhattan. So he came up with conditions that disenfranchised poor black people from renting his apartments. And then around 1975, when there were 5 young black men who were wrongfully accused and actually convicted of murder, Mr. Donald Trump took up a full page in the New York Times and other newspapers calling for their execution, the accused 5. And they have later turned out not to have even committed that murder. In 2011, when President Barack Obama first took a sweep at running for president, it was Mr. Donald Trump who first came up and said, he's not one of us. Let's check into his background. We understand he's from Kenya. There could be something wrong with his papers, which was a clear show that he was showing that this man is not one of us. Later on, about in his first term, when people complained about... 30 seconds.
I think you can give him my time.
I can also second that.
Enjoy this.
I can also second that because he's a main man.
Which means you have 2 more minutes.
Anyhow, so when he was asked about, collaborating with third world countries, and he was accused of being impartial to, or rather partial or racial to people from third world countries. And he said something, I don't know what I can say on TV, that he didn't give a damn about people from these shithole countries, which includes Zambia, and other third world countries. So the culmination of what happened on Friday, about 11 o'clock in the night, was the worst things of the worst. The first man to break the racial barriers in the history of democracy in the United States of America, a black man from Kenya, whose father from Kenya, and a white woman from Kansas, Barack Obama, was depicted on Truth Social, which is the equivalent of like Twitter or X, which is owned by Mr. Trump himself, as an ape, in the family of primates. Before we shed off our tails, as they say, into evolution. So we were looked at as apes. It was a form of saying you are an inferior being. So you put a tag to us. That's where in the 1600s slavery started. Because if you said Yasi Chula is an ape, then you could get him to work into the field without having to pay him or rest. So they assumed that as I submit, the world is outraged. Even members of the Republicans, where President Trump comes from, and the Democrats, and the world at large, the Canadians, the British, and everybody saying, Barack Obama deserves much more. He's actually much bigger than you. How can you equate the president of the United States? Because there you don't end being president. Once you are president, you are president.
You're president.
Which is why we have also kept on saying the 60th president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu. So the world is outraged that in the 21st century, slavery was 11,000 years ago. 11,000 years ago. Mr. Trump, a white man whose father is from Germany and his mother from Scotland, is calling the first man to break the racial barriers an ape. And he has not apologized. No. He says it was a mistake of one of... I didn't see it. It was but it was on his Truth Social for 12 hours before it was pulled down. So, in short, Mike, I think my brother should still say something. In short, it has shown us that Mr. Trump doesn't only have racial characteristics, but he's racial to the core, and he resents anybody who is black and brown. But it's a shame that this time around he took it onto a man whom we are supposed to be drawing inspiration from. Let me just close by saying, it is because of the office that he holds which has how outraged people. I think you remember when we were being interviewed here, Mike, by IP. People were outraged that President Hakainde Hichilema spoke about people from Ndumwezi and Joma being beaten.
Correct.
If it came from anybody else, they said it wouldn't have mattered, but it came from the president.
Yes.
And on top of that, it was not even true or verified to be true. Correct. So people were outraged because they say at the level of President Hichilema, you shouldn't be gaslighting what could be seen to be tribal. So in the same light,
Ambassador, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, you gentlemen, you give up your time, but if you still have something, I can offer 30 seconds to it.
Very generous, man.
Not on this topic. I wanted to talk about something
Yes,
different.
as we conclude.
I think this message goes to the UPND party. If they are going to be fair to themselves, they must ensure that the people that are parading themselves, these PF sellout MPs, to say that I can stand on the UPND ticket. Actually, these MPs are just going to bring confusion. Because in these respective constituencies where these MPs are coming from, you've got your own aspiring candidates. And it is not a guarantee that someone who comes from the PF can win on the UPND ticket in the same constituency.
They won on their own.
It is a wrong, it is a wrong approach, and they may actually make the UPND lose.
All right, thank you, Mike. IP, your last message, 30 seconds.
My last message, I think, the 103 months of Donald Trump as the president.
You kept count?
Yes, yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Of course, I've been counting.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing that I was among the few people who supported Donald Trump.
Why did you do that?
Yes, I did.
You are racist.
Not at all. Not at all, because I always believe that, I mean, the moment he was talking about donor aid and cutting off donor aid, like let's say to Africa, for me, I was very happy about that. I said Africans must be taught a lesson. We can't continue receiving donor aid from elsewhere, and yet our monies are being stolen by ourselves.
Yeah.
So I love Donald Trump because of that. But however, the 103 months he has been in power, 4 months has been around. Oh my goodness, the 4 months has been pathetic and dismal. My hope and prayer is that those who are around him, they can try to sit him down. Say, you came in power to make America great again.
Yeah, MAGA.
You understand?
Yeah.
So can you tone down? The script has been lost, has been missed. Let's go back and do what is right.
All right, IP.
John Mahama is a comeback
president.
Alewedelapo president. Yep. John Mahama, just like Donald Trump, is also another Alewedelapo president. But John Mahama seemed to be moving on the right path in Africa. Yeah. While the big man himself in Trump, he seemed to be going in a different, pathetic direction. He can come back. It's not too late.
IP, thank you very much. Gentlemen, we've come to an end. I would have loved for us to continue, but time is not in our best interest. I was joined